Hi, I'm Holly.
Hi, I'm Catrin, and we're designers at Komodo Digital.
Especially since the pandemic, people are increasingly turning to self-management tools to improve their mental health and well-being. So today we're going to go through what we think are 3 great examples in terms of user interface and user experience.
The first app we're going to look at is Headspace. It focuses on improving people's mental well-being through meditation and mindfulness exercises.
This is the first screen you see when you open the app. So Headspace has a huge library of activities and video content, which could be overwhelming to choose from, especially if you're using the app for the first time. So they've given us a set timeline of activities, which reduces that burden of having to choose from a huge catalogue. I think when you come to an app with the goal of feeling more at ease, it's important not to have to strain your brain any more than is really necessary. So looking down at the navigation, it's uncomplicated. There's a clear logical path from left to right, and icons are labelled. Even where icons aren't labelled, such as on the top right here, they're universal icons that are used, so people are used to seeing them and they know what they mean. The visual consistency of Headspace's brand and how that's then applied in the app is really well refined, which is quite calming in itself. So I'm going to go over to explore. So you have the ability to both search and filter the entire library, everything that's available on here. So if you're looking for something specific, you can just go ahead and search it at the top. But if you're browsing, the content is arranged in such a way with these different kind of filter cards. It's much less daunting than you imagine it would be if it were just a long list. It also introduces a hierarchy to the content where some things grab more attention than others. I'm going to go into the sleep category. So this is my favourite part of the app. It's got this lovely dark mode with this low contrast palette of blues and purples, which ensure that people aren't going to be overstimulated by their screens just before bedtime. If I go into an individual sleep cast, once it starts playing, the text UI disappears and you're just left with this minimal background with no distracting elements. Lastly, going into the profile, it gives you your stats and shows your progress using these nice illustrations. It's quite engaging. I'm going to go into settings, and this area of the app is the only thing I think could be improved a little, because these options for settings are really just a list, and they don't have the same kind of hierarchy or chunking that the rest of the app does. So options don't appear to be grouped so that related items sit together, but it's not in alphabetical order either. So you've got to read the whole thing to find what you want. The only other thing is that under accessibility, there's only one option for it, and that's for audio description on videos, which will describe the video's key visual elements. Now, I assume this is for people that are visually impaired, but you can see here that the text is really quite small, which obviously isn't ideal if you don't see well.
Now I'm going to talk about this app called Calm. It's quite a popular app focusing on meditation and sleep. So let's take a look at it now. When you first open the app, it shows you a prompt that's saying take a deep breath, and that preps the user before they enter the app, and that overall I think enhances the app experience from the very beginning. And then it shows you the different types of goals you might want to achieve through the app, and I really like how it allows you to select multiple goals as well. And then if we quickly log in, or you might like to create a new account, and it then brings you to this page which asks you how frequent you might want to practice. It has some really nice encouraging micro copy at the bottom as well. And when you first landed on the home page, I think the first thing you'll notice is it has an animated background which immerses you into the scene. And if you click the button at the top, it also allows you to adjust the volume and the different types of images as well. And it also has a button asks you how you're feeling, and it depends on the kind of mood you're in. It filters the type of resources for you, and that gives you a quickly like a more tailored result and help as well. And if we look at the Discover tab, you can see a search bar at the top, and it allows you to filter by category as well as time. And I really like how it has the trending section as well, because it gives you the user some suggestions if they're not entirely sure what they want to look for. And like Headspace, this library page is separated into different structured sections to organize the content. And when you click to the See All button, you can see that they all follow a similar like a consistent layout, and that is to create a sense of familiarity so the users don't have to relearn the controls each time. And then if we look at also the sleep stories, I think a comment I want to make here is that for me personally, the mixture of the typographic styles, illustrations, and photography is a little too visually stimulating. And I think in contrast to Headspace consistent illustrations, I think I prefer that one better. Looking at the profile tab, you can see there's 4 tabs separated out at the top, and it's also fixed, so as you scroll down the page you can still access them easily. And then looking at library tab, there's some empty states here, and they're accompanied by some explanation of what you might need to do to get something shown here, so that just gives users some more indication and instructions, which is nice. And when we go on to history tab, add session, you can see that the users can add in some meditation session that they might have done outside the app, which I also feel like the designer here has really considered the user journey, because they thought about how it could benefit people to be able to see a more rounded picture of their meditation activities over time. And on the check-ins tab, they have 4 different check-ins, and my favorite is the sleep check-in, because you could use this interactive slider component to put down the time, which is a lot more engaging than just using a drop down or maybe like a text field. And lastly, looking at the settings page, the use of icons on here is really nice, because again, it gives the user some indication and not just having text. And I like the way they're sectioned off into related groups, so it helps the user digest information better, and they can find what they're looking for easily as well. In comparison to Headspace, which they don't include icons, I definitely prefer the UI here, because overall it seems to bring a little more clarity and indication to the options.
Stoic is a journaling app that aims to get people to understand their emotions better through mindful activities and tracking how they feel over time. So this is the onboarding process for the app. The copy is quite direct and easy to understand, and the microcopy reassures you that any decisions you make during onboarding you can change later on in the settings. You can set reminders for the journaling, and you can do this with a simple switch right on the page. It doesn't break out of the onboarding flow. So when you land on the home page, the UI has quite a striking monochrome palette, which I think is quite calming in its simplicity. It's accessible, enables visual consistency throughout, and allows you to focus on the journaling tasks without being distracted. The empty states on the cards all provide a button to get you to fill them. The only thing that's in colour on the whole app, I think, this quote of the day, which obviously draws your attention to it. When you tap into it, you get this full page image, and it's quite immersive. So I'm going to go into this card at the top here and complete a daily reflection. So whenever you do a task in the app, there's always a progress bar to let you know how long a task will last. I like these simply animated illustrations, that they bring a bit of life to the page and set the mood of it without distracting from the written content. So I ask you to set a focus for the day, and you can pick up to 3. As you can see, there are a lot of options. You can personalise them so that you only in future see the ones you think you're going to need. And this is a common thing throughout the whole app. It's heavily customisable, which is great. It means that you can tailor it to your needs. The one thing I would say about the personalise button is that it kind of looks like it's in a disabled state, but you can actually press it. I think for me as well, I would rather initially be served up a small amount of choices with the option to add more, than to see everything off the bat and have to take away from it. And when I finish this, I get a little good job, which is nice. So the other thing I want to show is the journey, because I think this is really well thought out. Anything that you do in the app, it appears here underneath the corresponding day, and it allows you then to go back over time and recognise patterns and make connections between what you did that day and how you felt. The last thing I want to look at is this appearance option, because I think it's quite common to see a dark mode in visual preferences, but this is a lot more in depth, and I feel more valuable because it's less about just sort of general appearance, and more making the text, which in this app is quite important, more readable for you, and to suit your specific needs and preferences. So you can change things like the line height, the paragraph spacing, and you can have the system font size on, or if you turn that off, you can have the text as big as you like. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Thanks everyone for listening. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please subscribe to our channel.